Yo, what up people, it's Rohan here, and I just wanted to get on here and make a bit of an update about the 5-day chronic pain workshop I got coming up. I just shot yesterday a introductory video that had a bit of a rundown of sort of all the topics that we'll be talking about during the workshop, and once I'd looked at it, what I realised was that whilst the video, and I've attached it to the end of this so you can watch it for yourself if you're interested in the workshop, but I just wanted to point out that what that video is it's a very accurate representation of my passion and excitement for all of the various topics that I'm interested in and that I'll be talking about and that I'm excited about. However, it's not an accurate representation of what the workshop will be like, because it's not going to be anything like that. It's not going to be so there's a few points. For one thing, it's not going to be a teacher and student type thing. I'm not going to be standing in front of a whiteboard lecturing about all of these topics like I'm some sort of expert in all of them, because all of those topics that I talk about in the video that's following this, although they're things that I've got quite a bit of experience in, I've certainly got a lot of passion about, I'm not a big expert in any of them, and I'm not trying to say that I have all the answers to your chronic pain, or that I know how to fix everyone's chronic pain, or that I'm an expert in all of those fields. So what the actual workshop's going to be is it's going to be a lot more informal than that, and we're just going to have a relaxed good time, and I'm going to talk about all of those sorts of things. So that is the content that it's going to be in, but you know, I'm just a guy who's found some pretty amazing answers to my chronic pain, and I know that other people have found answers in all of these aspects that I talk about, because that's how I discovered them. You know, I spent a long time researching what people said they got help with and what things helped them, and you know, so I do have quite a bit of knowledge on all the things that I talk, but I have a lot of knowledge in it, not because I'm a big expert in it, but just because it's all stuff that I've found works and that I like talking about. And I do know that it's a lot of stuff that can really help a lot of other people with their pain, but I just don't want people to get the idea that I'm going to say that I know everything about supplements and everything about diet, or you know, all the other topics that I talk about. I know a bit about it, and I'd love to share it with people. I'd love to talk about the amazing results that I got using this stuff. But yeah, I'm not the world expert on it all, and we're going to have a good time in this workshop. It's not going to be just lectures of me saying I know all this stuff and listen up to what I'm saying. We're going to co-create it together. I'm going to do a lot of answering questions, and you know, I'm going to talk a lot about just how much these things have revolutionised my journey. So check it out. It'll start in a couple of seconds from now. So have a look at it, and I'll talk to you later, peeps. Rohan out. Yo, what up? This is Rohan, and thanks for taking an interest in this 5-day chronic pain workshop that I'm putting on. I had a long, difficult journey with chronic pain for nearly 20 years, and I learned a lot about how to manage chronic pain. And eventually, after a long time, I learned a lot about how to overcome chronic pain. Now, I'm going to be teaching chronic pain in this workshop in a way that you've probably never heard before. It's a unique way of looking at pain, and I had really severe pain, and it went on for a long time. I had a vasectomy back in 2000, and I got a lot of nerve damage to my testicles from that. I had a whole lot of other surgeries, and I got a back injury as well. And it's really a fantastic thing that I was able to. I suffered incredibly for over 16 years in huge amounts of pain, and I ended up having a intrathecal pump implanted in my abdomen, and that was pumping hydromorphone in very large amounts into my spinal fluid for a long time. And I was able to use some of these techniques to really transform my whole experience with pain and to get my life back. And it really is an honour to be able to provide this information to people so that they can have a better life too. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about just a few things. There's going to be it's 5 days going to be jam packed. I'm going to put as much information, as much stuff that I've learned into it as I can. So just a few of the things, it's just a little bit of what we'll be covering. We'll be talking about the basics of pain, types of pain, how we create the experience of pain, because pain is created entirely within the mind. What to do about it, how we can live a better life, how we can overcome our pain, how we can break free of our pain. I'm going to talk about the 5 foundations of the pain experience. Now these are things that I developed myself. These are perspectives that I developed so that, and they allowed me to have a much better experience in life. And I really have a great life now, and I don't take any opiates. I treat my pain entirely using this system that I completely created myself. And so we're going to talk about the creation of the data, so the stimulus that creates the data. We're going to talk about data transmission throughout the peripheral nervous system. These are all areas we can hack into each one of these 5 systems. We're going to talk about the data processing, so when the data travels through the peripheral nervous system and it reaches the brain, it's processed through a whole lot of programs. Once it's processed through these programs, some sort of action is taken. We may have a release of endogenous chemicals, or we use these systems and these programs that we have, which is based on our past experience, to create our reality. And reality creation is where the magic happens. Reality creation is what we live in. We live in the reality that's created within our mind, because nothing gets in our brains in here. It's just in a dark box. All it gets in is some electrical signals and some chemical signals, and we create our entire reality from that. So we're going to talk a bit about that on the first day. That's just a little bit of what we'll be talking about. I'm going to try and keep it to an hour and a half each day, but I've got a lot of stuff to get through. On the second day, we're going to talk about stress and feedback loops, and experiential programming. So the programs from the experiences in life that we have that I touched on there, the importance, so parameters that we assign to the data when we create our experience of pain, and a lot of these parameters can be based on trauma. And if you've been in chronic pain for a long time, there was probably a traumatic experience that either instigated your journey with chronic pain, or perhaps you've had traumatic experiences in hospitals with healthcare providers. Perhaps you needed narcotic analgesics and you didn't have the best experience, and this is a very common thing. A lot of people get treated quite poorly, and these create a whole lot of programs that this data's fed through. And there's ways to hack into this, and there's ways to reprogram that so that we can have a better life. So we are going to learn how to hack into this system to have a better life. A lot of it's to do with evolutionary assessment and survival, and so chronic pain is not very well understood, but I understand it pretty well. And chronic pain, acute pain is pain that's there for a reason. It's alerting us to something, and chronic pain is an ongoing pain that we no longer have a reason to have that pain. That pain's not serving a purpose in our life, so it's making our life a misery. And we're going to get into that. We're going to get into belief systems and programming. So we've got a big day on the second day, and then on the third day we're going to hack into the source of the data. So what's actually creating the data at the source, and a lot of this can do with lifestyle, environment and identity. Very often if we end up in chronic pain, we cling to our original identity, and that can actually be an instigator to cause us to have a lot more suffering. And so we're going to dive into a little bit about how we can create a new, better identity, an identity that you'll like, an identity where you're no longer suffering all the time, where you don't have to wake. I woke up for 16, 17 years every day in so much pain. It was horrible. And I'm just so glad to be free of that. And the only thing better than being free of that is being able to help other people to overcome their pain as well. So we're going to talk about identity a bit, and we're going to go right into the transmission through the nervous system, because you know, that I talked about these 5 foundations, and so we've got the source of the data, and then we've got the transmission of the data. We can hack in at each one of these, and so we're going to dive right into the transmission of the data. Nerve dysfunctions. What are the causes of nerve dysfunction? We're going to talk about chronic inflammation, of course, because chronic inflammation is one of the biggest causes of health issues in humans, and it's a big cause of chronic pain, inflammation of the nervous system, and particularly autoimmune disease. And we'll go into diet on the day after, because there is quite a few foods that, it's not well known, but there's quite a few foods that instigate an autoimmune response, and they attack nerves. And we'll talk a lot about chronic toxicity as well, because chronic toxicity can also increase your experience of chronic pain. On day 4, we're going to get right into our second brain, which is the gut. So our gut is jam-packed full of neural cells. It really is a second brain, and more information travels up from the gut to the brain than travels from the brain to the gut. So the gut is running our lives, really. And a lot of the way that I completely healed myself and overcame all of my troubles was understanding how much the gut can affect our health, and particularly how much the gut can affect our pain. And the gut also has more neurotransmitters in it than the brain does. Most of the neurotransmitters in the body are produced in the gut, and neurotransmitters affect our pain. Neurotransmitters affect our experience of pain. They affect our mood, and obviously our mood affects our pain. We all know that when we're happy, our pain doesn't bother us as much, and when we're really sad and down, which obviously that creates a cycle, and we can break through that using this. Then we're going to go right into food. So there's a lot of foods that can increase pain. We're going to talk about all those foods, and then we're going to talk about foods that heal us. So there's a lot of foods. There's some really fantastic foods, and diet's a huge part. And you know, this is something that's really not talked about enough. But and it's not as simple as you think. You know, further back in my pain journey, I looked into diet more to see whether it could help my pain. And what I found was that I didn't have much success. And that's because it's not just as simple as changing a few things in your diet. There's a lot more to it than that. So we'll talk about leaky gut and the long-term damage that is done to the gut by certain foods, and how that completely changes everything in our body, and it really can have a huge effect on our pain. So we're going to talk about neurotransmitter precursors, which are endogenous drug treatments. So these 2 days overlap. We're going to talk about what leaky gut is, and we're going to go right into our microbiome, because if you want to leave your pain behind, you really need to have a healthy microbiome, because not having a healthy microbiome causes an incredible cascade of health issues, and pain is right up there among them. On day 5, we're going to talk about epigenetics and energy fields. We're going to talk again about endogenous drug treatments. So basically we're going to talk about the placebo effect, and how I learned that you can actually, how I studied for many years to try and find an answer to how I could actually harness the power of the placebo effect. I won't get right into it now, but that's what we're going to talk about. Then we're going to go into the actual reality creation, where we create our reality. And we're going to learn some visualization techniques. We're going to learn some mindfulness and meditation. We're going to talk a bit about quantum physics and how that relates to epigenetic neurogenesis, and how quantum physics actually led me eventually onto a spiritual path and onto actually discovering all this stuff. We're going to talk about psychological restructuring and how hypnosis can change the programs. So, you know, we're going to go out of the data creation. The data is created, it travels through the peripheral nervous system, and then it gets run through a whole lot of programs. And these programs assign importance, and they assign importance based upon events in our life. And so we can really help our pain a lot when we dive into those programs, because it's just data that arrives. So that's the 5 days. And then after the 5 days, we've got an entire optional complete extra day, which is all about psychedelics and entheogens and how you can revolutionise your experience of pain using psychedelics, how you can treat neuropathy, how you can cure neuropathy, I'll talk about how I rebuilt and regenerated severe damage to my nervous system, severe damage to my testicles that was done, nerve damage that was done, how I used psilocybin combined with a few other things to stimulate epigenetic neurogenesis to rebuild those damaged nerve cells to the original DNA blueprint, because instead of them being recopied in the damaged format after they were damaged. Then we're going to talk about treating trauma, treating being stuck with psychedelics, and then we'll go through a few psychedelics. LSD is a very powerful pain treatment that can be used. Psilocybin and psilocin are excellent pain treatments as well, and they're really good they have a huge effect in restructuring the brain. They have a huge positive impact on the brain, and they have a huge positive impact if we use certain other amino acids and treatments and that can bind with the psilocybin, and they can force it out into the peripheral nervous system. We can talk about DMT. DMT is an excellent pain treatment. We can use exogenous DMT, but we can also stimulate, we make DMT in our lungs, we make DMT in our pineal gland. And so we'll talk a little bit about using compression waves in breathing techniques and stretching techniques to stimulate a release of DMT, and breathing techniques to stimulate a release of DMT so that we can treat our pain with that. And it's a fantastic treatment. It's not a cure type of treatment like the psilocybin is, but it is a powerful pain treatment. And then we'll talk about MDMA and TCB used to treat post-traumatic stress disorder, because a lot of people who have chronic pain have post-traumatic stress disorder because, like I said earlier, there's often an awful incident that occurred either at the beginning of the chronic pain journey or sadly often in the treatment or mistreatment of patients, due to the way the health system has, treated people who needed narcotic analgesics especially. And, all of these things create programs, and all of these programs are the parameters that we sift and filter all of this data through. And so it's really important that we understand the system, and this can really help us. This can help us with our emotional pain, our trauma, can help us with our spiritual pain. There's a lot of people in a lot of pain with coronavirus. A lot of people are waking up, and spiritual awakening is a very difficult thing, and psychedelics can be very helpful with spiritual awakening, and so can just having somebody who's already been through it and been experienced and just have some tips, because it's difficult when your entire world's shattered, all the things that you believed, all the programming that you had. That's what a spiritual awakening is. It's it's when you realise just how programmed you've been, and you begin to see the truth and you break free. And there's going to be bonuses, and there's going to be more bonuses, and there's going to be more bonuses. It's a whole other day. I'm going to provide you all with assessment worksheets. I'm going to provide you with pain charting worksheets. We're going to have prizes. We're going to have secret bonuses, and one champion will bring double the money back that they paid for this course. And this course is only $49, so it's almost free anyway. And really, if you don't like it in any way, I'm happy to give you $49 back. That's no problem at all. But one of the champions that really has a crack and really gives it their all, the people that do that, one of them's going to win double their money back. So basically, I'm going to pay you $49 to do the course if you really have a good crack at it. So that's basically it. So it's all going down in the first week of September, and if you want to get in on it, I'd really love to be able to make your life better, because my life's just so much better, and I'd just love to share this stuff with people so that they can have a better life too. So if it interests you, jump on in, and I'm dead serious. If you don't like it in any way, I'm just so happy to give you your money back, because I don't want you. I just want you to have a better, happier life and not be in as much pain, because I know what it's like. It sucks. I wake up every day into that world of pain for so long. And I'm so glad that I don't have to do that anymore. And I'm so glad that I get to help other people to have a better life. So that's it. That's all there is. Get on into it. See you later.